So today I'm going to show you a few little tests that I do in and out of the shooting range that you may be able to implement the next time you're creating or even improving on an existing build. So without delay, let's get into it. So I'm using a stock standard meta build just for demonstration purposes. I usually use this as a baseline. So to start off with, we're going to do a recoil test. You simply aim the gun and shoot it without trying to control any recoil. As you can see, the FAMAS pattern goes in a distinct pattern. I'll always do a follow-up test just to confirm that pattern, and as you'll see, it'll be pretty much identical. And the same works with every gun. It's good to know what your recoil patterns are on all of your guns so that you know how you need to control the actual weapon. And I check things like the accuracy, stability and reload time, but the more important thing is the damage drop off. Especially if you're using something that's going to be a long range weapon, you want to have a look at what the damage drop off is, because if it drops off too quick, then it's not going to be great in long range. Next I'll do another recoil test with each gun, but this time I'm going to do a controlled recoil test just to see what the pattern is if I'm controlling it and to get a feel for how much control I actually need to put onto the gun. Again, I'll generally do this in twos just to get a comparison. So you may have noticed at the start, just outside the shooting range, I've set the difficulty to heroic within the shooting range. I then make sure that my veterancy is at named. That's because this is the most accurate representation that I can get when it comes to a boss or anything like that outside in the open world. They have armor, so I can test my armor damage, as you can see. And then simply what I do is take a few body shots and a few headshots and just test out what the damage numbers are. Now, with the Kingbreaker, obviously I've got flatline. With the FAMAS, however, it's a little bit more. So because I've got Optimus on the FAMAS, I need to do the first bullet and the last bullet, because obviously the last bullet is your most damage. So I'll do a few more shots with the FAMAS just to get a better reading of like an average on the numbers. So now we get into the part where I want to muck around with the build a bit. So I'm looking at the Catharsis mask. I want to change that for something Walker and Harris because it gives you a bit more damage. However, I want to try and keep the damage multipliers pretty similar. So therefore I'm going to choose the Walker and Harris that has the armor core on it, just to see what the damage increase is with the basic brand set bonuses. So as you can see, initially, without any procs on anything, the Walker and Harris seems to be putting out more damage. But now I factor in the Catharsis talents and see what the damage is with that. So now I'm going to proc the talent, which is when you take damage you get up to 30 stacks, which is going to increase your weapon damage and also release the healing cloud at 31 stacks. So now I'm going to test what the best possible damage outcome is going to be with the Catharsis. And as you can see, it's actually better than the Walker and Harris. So maybe I'll keep that. So now I want to look at replacing the Contractor's gloves with Walker and Harris gloves. But as you can see, I don't actually have Walker and Harris with armor cores. So the first thing I'll do is put on the Contractors with a weapon core, so that way I can get a base reading on that and get a better comparison between the two gloves with the same or similar rolls on them. This way I'm able to minimize all the other factors and just try and concentrate on the brand set bonuses versus the multiplicative damage that comes from the Contractor's gloves to see which one plays out better. That's so that I can get a better reading on the individual item and whether it adds or subtracts to the build as a whole. You'll also notice that I'm using the Kingbreaker for all of this testing, as opposed to the FAMAS. That's because the Kingbreaker has the flat 20% increase on damage for every bullet, whereas the FAMAS has fluctuating damage depending on where you are in the magazine. So with the Kingbreaker, I'm getting a more accurate and instant reading of the damage numbers. So the next thing I want to do is just a straight mag dump into the target. Now I go for the body because that's going to be the lowest amount of damage that I can possibly do. Going for headshots isn't as accurate because a lot of the time you're going to miss headshots. This way I'm able to see how many bullets and how many magazines it's going to take to actually take out one enemy. The lowest possible damage that I can do. That way anything above this is going to be gravy. So with the Kingbreaker for example, I take off the link laser pointer and do it without any pulsing. That way I can get an accurate reading on what the gun will do without flatline. That comes in handy for things like enemies that have pulse resistance. Now comparatively, I'm doing the test again, but with all of my damages prop, including flatline and companion, which I have on this build. Testing the range can only get you so far, so eventually, once I've got everything sorted and I'm happy with what I've got, I'll go and test it in the dark zone with a friend. This way I can see what the damage numbers are against another player, because obviously the damage numbers are different as opposed to the shooting range and open world. The other benefit to testing this way is not only do you get the accurate damage numbers in PvP, but you can also throw ideas around with your friend. They may have noticed something on your build that you didn't notice before and could have better ideas for you. Hopefully this helps you do better testing in your builds. Like and subscribe to the channel.